adjust presenting? Where adjust screen is coming? Yes, good. First slide.
Father, I'm ready. 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. Friends, good evening. Good evening. This evening, we begin this session, resourceful session, invoking God's name.
Good evening.
I invite you to pass for a moment, and then we straight away go. Friends, this evening we have a variety of audience, friends, Jesuits, students, well-wishers, alumni, and welcome to this particular evening webinar, Life Voyage-Doing versus Being. For this evening session, we have our speaker, well-known Father Francis P. Xavier. Father doesn't need an introduction. Obviously, this area of management, time management, is a guru. And so for the last 20 years, he's been working on this. It's almost his wisdom. And so this evening, life voyage, doing versus being. And he takes us on to a variety of topics, almost transcending time management into energy management. And now I hand the session to Father Francis P. Xavier, and he will lead us and inspire us. Thank you.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for participating in this evening talk. I would like to talk on life as a voyage. We know and we have experienced that our life is voyage. During this voyage, we want to do a lot of things, we try to do a lot of things, and very often we achieve a lot of things. But what is more important is our well-being, how we are able to achieve, how energetic we are is more important than how many things we achieve. So this is the thesis of my talk this evening. That is, time management is managing yourself in time, how we do things. When we think of doing versus being, we see two different classes of concepts that we might have experienced. We want to be efficient, we want to do a lot of things, but what is more important is how effective they are, how lasting that would be. Our work would create impact. People would appreciate you have done a lot of things, but what is the influence on others? That is what matters. It is not our performance per se, but is our influence or our effectiveness are going to be permanent? What is the permanent impact or influence on others? What is more important in time management is not the productivity, but the productivity capacity. We are capable of doing a lot of things. We are doing things, but very often we concentrate on what we do rather than concentrating on what is my capacity in doing that. I just want to give you two examples. One is very familiar to you, the age-old story of the golden egg duck. You know that there was a duck that was laying every day a golden egg, and the person who had the duck became very greedy. One day he caught hold of the duck and cut it into pieces, thinking that there will be a lot of eggs will be there, but unfortunately there is only one golden egg was there. The productivity of the duck was 1 egg a day, but the productivity capacity of the duck perhaps is quite a large or infinite. Let us take another example. There was a farmer who was living in front of his house. There was a big forest. One day, two people came and cut down a huge tree and started cutting the tree into pieces. They started from early morning onwards. The farmer, around 10 o'clock, when the sun grew warm, offered something to drink, buttermilk or water. They said, no, we have to finish the whole work by end of the day. You see the huge tree? We have to do the things. The farmer went to his farm, came back for lunch. Still, these two people were sawing the tree, and he took pity. He offered some lunch. Have some lunch and work energetically. They said, no, we cannot afford to take lunch and waste time. We have to work. So the farmer went back to his farm, came back around 4 o'clock and saw both the fellows sitting very, very sad, and asked them what happened. They said, the saw broke. He said they forgot to sharpen the saw now and then. It cannot do all the time work. You should stop and energize yourself so that you should be able to do more work. So what is important, hard work or smart work? Smart work is what you should think of. It is not doing a lot of things in time management. Very often we think time management is how I achieve doing a lot of things within a short time. That is not the purpose of time management. Whether we continue to be energetic always doing more. The energy is within, and the product is just a mighty little from what we do from our energy. Therefore, the time management is more energy management, how we spend the energy, how we become energetic all the time. That is the story here. This whole energy, I would like to bring this concept of subconscious. Subconscious has got unfathomable source of energy. There is a sleeping lion within, only thing we have to wake it up. People say that we don't even make use of the energy in subconscious, not even 5% of its capacity. We don't make use of it. And the subconscious has got a lot of this energy, not only energy, information, techniques, whatever you want it. The subconscious is like the control room of the battleship. The control room is very important, and the mind is like the captain of the ship. Whatever comes from the control room, the captain just executes. Whatever comes from the subconscious, your feeling, your decisions, your ongoing work, the mind just decides and your hand does the work. And you might have seen we have a lot of psychic power and sometimes intuition. Someone is not well. Some people call you asking, are you all right? Actually, you may not be all right. So where do all these things come from? Very often we have certain power within us. Though the power of subconscious is something like an infinite source of energy that is surging all the time whenever you need it. It is like a volcano. A lot of energy is there, and sometimes it comes up and spews forth all the things that it has got inside. Just I want to give one example of the Tibetan monks. They can sit at an altitude of about 2,000 meters or even more in the Himalayas with just the ordinary robe they have, and they can raise their body temperature about 17 degrees Fahrenheit or about 8 degrees centigrade. It has been scientifically proved by the Harvard scientists with the permission of Dalai Lama. How do they do it? They have the power within. And what does the subconscious do apart from the energy? It makes you feel for it. And this feeling creates impression for you. If the impression is positive, well and good, that influences your thought, and the thought takes the decision. Once you take the decision, that comes into the action. what we mean time management is the action, but much more is inside if you go to do that. It is from this subconscious you are able to do what is called the multitasking. If you ask the computer specialist, they say the computer has got serial processes and parallel process. Serial process means you do one work at a time. Some people can do only one work at a time. They can't do two works at a time. They get confused or they make a mess of it. But very often we have to do more than one work at a time. That is called the parallel processes. You may be consciously or physically doing one work, but your subconscious is capable of doing a lot of works. You tell the subconscious it will do. You might have seen some people who perform the so-called Astavadani or Dasavadani. They can do 8 to 10 different things at the same time. And we have that power. Once I met one of these Dasavadani and said, how do you do that? It's by practice. You have the power within. So the power is subconscious. Very often people tell you when you have problem, sleep it over. Literally sleep it over. You will find the solution next day morning. Don't be surprised that Pope Francis has got the sleeping St. Joseph statue in his room. In sleep, a lot of clarity comes. You find solution for your problems in it. So here I would like to bring this 80-20 rule of Pareto. He's an Italian economist. He brought this rule in economics in 1897. This could be the law of vital few people who use it. For example, 80% of your outputs could be just from 20% of your inputs. What he proposed originally was, you look at the world, 80% of the land would be owned by 20% of the people. You ask any company, that a big company, ask them where is their bulk of the income comes, they would say 80% of their sales or from 20% of their client. So as the picture shows, you would be able to do with 20% of your efforts. If you make conscious efforts, you can achieve 80% of the results. So why to waste time on unnecessary things? And in our own life, 80% of our support would come from 20% of the friends or well-wishers. And you take the journals, 20% of the journals will give about 80% of the information. You not to read so many journals, you get in one or two things. And very often you make to-do list, and most of the time, 80% of the list you don't do, but only 20% of the results you are able to produce in that. So what does it show? How do we make use of this 80-20 rule for our life management? We could accomplish 80% of the work that we want to do in 20% of the time that is available to us, provided we know what the priorities are there. We know what is important, what is urgent work. I'll come to that later. And you could avoid 80% of the interruptions in your daily life by concentrating at least 20% in your work. And very often you see over 80% of the filed matters, you never look into that. Perhaps you are able to clear about 20% of the matter, which is your choice. Again, your priority. And 80% of your happiness would come from 20% of your activities, provided you know which activities are going to give satisfaction to you. And in our life, what we think, what we want to possess, whether it's happiness or success, 80% of it, you can get it just by 20% of your passion and love and dedication for the work. If you want to know more, I refer to the book Living 80-20 Way by Koch. Now, I give the whole summary of how the time management, the components of time management, and I will go into detail later. All the things are from inside. The preparation is very important, then the action itself. From the subconscious, the mindset. That means you should have a motivation. Without motivation, nothing is going to work. Without setting your goal clear, you are not going to achieve. If you don't know where you want to go, any road will take you there because there is no goal for you. Once this is clear, then the transition comes where you try to know what should I do, how should I do. There only comes a rational way and effective way, that is the discerning mind and understanding heart. Somebody seemed to do. And we should know from our living out the things what we can do by our mind, what we can do by our heart. The decision making is from your mind. The discernment is more from your heart. So it is the mind, heart, and what comes the next is the hand. It is very Ignatian. Your formation should be heart, mind, and hand. So the mind and heart does the work, the hand executes. That is what we call time management. That is the external one in execution. And there you have the success formula. If you have the aptitude, you want to do it, you like to do it, you are interested in doing that, then you will go for attitude. You pick up skills, you do your work, try to learn, and if you combine your aptitude and attitude, not even the sky is your limit, your altitude will be very high. And the methodology, if you are in administration, is whether you become a leader or a manager. A leader is one who walks with you. A manager is one who directs you how to go. A leader inspires you. A manager frightens you. So it depends on how to do that. Manager does the work with you. Manager extracts the work with you. I will come to that later when we talk about the stress management. What is very important is the multitasking, that the subconscious, it helps you, and you should know what is important, what is urgent. That also I will do it later. When you are doing this, definitely a lot of challenges will be coming. Challenge within oneself, with others, with the workplace. So when we have challenge within ourselves, we call it stress. So we need stress management. That is part of time management. When we work with others, there is conflict. How do we deal with the conflict without wasting time? When we are working in a company or in a workplace, there is disaster management, or what do we do, emergency. So finally, I would end up with time contract. How do you make a contract with time? And that's way you create the 25th hour. This is the title of my latest book, Creating the 25th Hour. If you are interested, you are most welcome to read that for details. So mindset is very important. All of us have a set of assumptions. We have our own ways of doing it. And we have rational notations held by one or more people. Some group or nation, country has got as individual or group, but mindset is ours. I give an example. Once Alexander the Great was marching for a war. The soldiers were very tired. They came to know the opponent king was more well prepared than Alexander. Then Alexander said what to do. Then he said, okay, now it is getting evening. We take rest, and morning we'll decide. Morning we'll have a little ceremony, then we decide. So the soldiers rested. In the morning, Alexander gave a small puja or prayer, and then he said, look, I have a coin here. I toss it. If the head falls, we go for war. If tail falls, we withdraw, we retreat. The soldier said, fine. So he tossed the coin, and when he opened the hand, head was there. Then the soldier said, we'll go for the war. And they won the war. And the evening, they asked Alexander, how did you know that you will get the head? He said, very simple. I took 2 coins and pasted the tail, both ends together. So whichever side comes, it has to be the head. What is needed is the mindset for the soldiers, that we will win the war. With that motivation, they went. With that confidence, they went. You have mindset, you have the confidence, and you are at the target. Once you have this, you will see the energy needed for accomplishing your work would surge from within you, that is from your subconscious. For this, you need motivation. Very often we get our motivation from role models. We need role models. I would like to recommend this book, Jonathan Seagull Livingston by Richard Bach. The seagull, it cannot fly fast. It's a flappy bird, but one bird wants to fly faster, farther, and higher. And everybody says in the seagull community, are you stupid? Just to follow us. Somebody will bring fish, you eat it. When the fishermen bring the fish, keep quiet and enjoy life. But this seagull said, I want to do something. So one seagull said, I will be your trainer. So every day the seagull was able to fly faster and faster, farther and farther, higher and higher. At one point it was even to compete with eaglets. What is important is the motivation, the work. You should have a clear idea of achievement. It is said of Denzin, when he was growing up as a child in Tibet, he used to look at the beautiful Mount Everest. He imagined how it would be if I stand on Mount Everest and look at the world. That was the motivation. So that made him climb up and down. He might have tried about at least 50 times. The last but one time was about to reach Mount Everest, but they called off because the climate was inclement. He seemed to have told Everest, today you have won, tomorrow I will win, and the next day he won. That is the goal that he had in his mind. Another one is perseverance. Whether you do it or not, keep going once you have the clear, and your subconscious and your mindset will lead to you. I want to cite the example of Thomas Alva Edison. The first day when he went to school, he brought a note from the school, and the mother read the note. The teacher wrote, never again send this boy to school. Reason? He's asking too many questions, he's deaf. So the mother said, I am your teacher. Thomas Alva Edison learned everything by himself in the basement of his house. At the end, he had 1,093 US patents and in other countries also. And I happened to visit his lab in Edison in New Jersey. It is still, some of the labs are there, but it's a rebuilt because in 1914, there was a big fire in the lab and Edison was 67. You know what was his reaction? He called his son, hey son, come here, see the fire, go and get your mother, let her also see this fire. This is unbelievable sight. You will never get a chance to look at the fire. So that was cool mind. When the fire got down and he told the employees, fellows, tomorrow 5:30 a.m. we start working. We are rebuilding the studio. And he did that. Resilience. Don't get bogged down. Don't become discouraged. Have the sustaining force. Remember Ghazni Muhammad, he invaded over India about 17 times, but he succeeded because his goal was clear. He had the sustaining force and he had the motivation and did that. And that is what we call goal setting. For goal setting, you need a direction. You need dedication and commitment. You need determination. You need discipline. You have to work, and then you have deadlines. It is not, I want to do it. When do I want to do it? How do I want to do it? And once you set the goal, it has to be a SMART goal. S is specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, T is time-bound. It's a specific goal. For example, you cannot simply say, I want to reduce my weight. How much you want to reduce the weight? Within what time you want to reduce the weight? And whether it is measurable. Don't say, I want to reduce 50 pounds in a month, it is not going to take place. Maybe 5 pounds a month, maybe 5 kilos a month may be okay. It should be achievable in your situation. And it has to be realistic, time bound. Keep working at that. So when you are setting the goal itself, be practical. What can you do in your circumstance depending on your capacity and capability? And the goals has to be major goals, minor goals. Suppose you are a student, you have 2 semesters in a year. Look at one semester as a minor goal, and if the one semester is a major goal, look at your midterm exam as a minor goal. Or if you are in administration, you have 12 months, what is 3 months as your minor goal, and what is your 1 year as a major goal? You have to cut down your goals, then it is easy for you to do that. And these goals could be long-term, medium, short-term goals. Take the rocket, for example. Rocket would have at least 3 stages. The bottom is the heaviest one. As soon as the rocket takes off, that is detached, that falls into the water. The second one takes it and tries to reach the orbit. Once it goes there, that part is detached and it falls down. And finally, the payload, that is the one that is placed in orbit. So you have the long-term goal and medium and short. In our terminology, you can call them step goals, sprint goals, and stretch goals. What is step goals? What do I want to do today? Or what do I want this forenoon or afternoon? The step goal says what the sprint goals are what is over the next few days or few weeks. Suppose you are writing a term paper, you are writing a project, you cannot finish it one day. You should have at least a couple of weeks. And then stretch goals is long period of time. You are writing a book, or you are planning to put up a building, or you are doing fundraising, or you are in a project. So depending on that, don't get mixed up with short term and long term. Once you have it, this one, cut it into pieces. It is easy for you to handle it. Now we are coming to the transition period, the motivation and the goal. Now we have to make use of our mind and heart. What Solomon asked God, when God said, whatever you want I give, Solomon said, give me a discerning mind and understanding heart. That's enough for me. We have to be able to analyze the certain things and understand it, and we should be able to have the energy to do that. This is what we call the decision making and discernment. Decision making is rational. Discernment is how much I want it, how much I like it. They are not the same. For example, the decision is you have the option to choose from A, B, C, D, whatever it is. But the discernment is, are you able to perceive things as they are? And your perception is very important, because your judgment is going to depend on your perception. Your perception is negative, your judgment is going to be defective. Your perception is positive, then you would have the confidence to do that. And what is important is you should be free from prejudice or attachment. You can take example in your life. If you like someone, you interpret his or her actions in one way. If you don't like the person, the way you interpret will be different. So much depends on you. It is not the judgment per se. It is how you are able to look at that in your life. So coming to the decision making itself, the starting point is, I mentioned earlier, clarity of the purpose, and you should have open mind. Don't be afraid of changing your goal. Don't be afraid of changing your mind decisions. If you look into real life, about 30% or 1/3 of the professionals, they change their profession at least once in their lifetime. Not because they did not plan well. Sometimes they feel, well, I can do much better. So when you think of the next stage, There may be a possibility of change of your purpose or goal, provided you see what is your life purpose. At the same time, for decision making, what is very important is the availability of information as much as possible. You cannot decide anything with partial informations. Very often we do that. We rely on someone, depending on that person's information, we decide. That will be defective. But we should have as much information as possible. It is not the information itself. The source also is very important. Is the source or the person credible? Can I rely on this person? When the source is dubious or a person is not reliable, then don't start your discern or the decision-making process. And the next stage is whether there is logic in the information received. Can you believe that what the person says? Does it make sense for you? Otherwise, you take a course of action and you are going to regret after spending a lot of time on that. In that process, you try to consider before you take the decision, what are the pros and cons? If I take this decision, what will be the good? What will be the negative outcome if I do this one? Any course of action would have both. But what we should choose, what is more positive, what is less negative, that was. Sometimes we may not be able to decide on ourselves. It is better to fall back on the experts. You want to read more on that area, or you want to consult some experts, nothing wrong in that. We need others' help. 4 eyes see better than 2 eyes. Then if you are working in a group, you should understand there is a difference between making the decision and taking the decision. In a group, you discuss, you propose, you suggest, you come up consensus, that we call it making the decision. But who takes the decision? The boss, the one who is in charge. In a religious community, we call the superior, the local superior or the major superior is the one who takes the decision. The community or the what we call the counselors or the consult members, they may make the decision, but taking the decision, we should be prepared for that. And also, finally, we have to say we should see the difference between safe decisions and right decisions. Very often, we tend to look for safe decisions. What is the decision that people would like? What is the decision that would not create too many complications? What is the decision will take less effort, less risk? But what is important? What is the right decision according to me? In my mind, in my heart, in my discernment, in my decision, what is the right decision? My thinking and my feeling, do they tally? Then only you can go for it. This is what Jesus said. When you mean yes, say yes. When you mean no, say no. Don't think yes and say no. So that there should be a synchronization between what you think and what you feel. Otherwise, there is going to be dichotomy, there is tension, you are going to be in dilemma, you are going to waste quite a lot of time in arriving at proper conclusion or decisions. Once you have decided, then comes what is called the discernment process. The discernment synchronizes your mind and heart, your rational way of analyzing things, your effective way of synthesizing the things, both have to come together. The rational way of looking at it, the effective way of accepting it is going to merge in this discernment where your gut feeling is the one that is going to say whether it is okay or not. So when you take a decision, just check with yourself, how do you feel? Ignatius would say, do you have peace of mind? Do you feel inner harmony? Then you have taken the right decision. And what we insist for the social life, ethical values are very important. My decision, is it going to be for the good of all involved? It is not my personal need, my personal advantage, but the good of all. So in these discernment stages, we have to look into ourselves, go into your inner experience and go through the things, what has been your feeling, predominant feeling, what has been your orientation and tendencies. I like this, or I like this person, or I like this locality. That is not the right way to do that. Can I get away from that orientation and the tendency? I should be indifferent to that. And once I recognize my origin, I see whether it is doing any good. If it doesn't do good, and then I should be able to rework on that. Once you have come to that, then the 3-step formula is become aware of yourself, aware of your own shortcomings, your own positive points, your own capability and capacity. And that is important, to know yourself and accept yourself as you are. Sometimes you feel inadequate, you need the help of others, you make it very clear, think, reflect, discuss with others, then you decide, only then you go for the action. It is not, I feel like doing it, I do it. Take a moment, reflect, and do it. When you are in confusion, don't do anything. That's why Ignatius says, when you are too happy or when you are too depressed, don't take any decisions. You got to be sober, you got to be in a normal self to do this. For that, you need this awareness of yourself, acceptance of yourself, and then doing the action. Now you have taken the decision, you have finding the harmony within yourself. Now you want to execute the decision. Here comes how you do things. You should have a vision, that is what we say, goal, and then you should have inspiration. Inspiration could be from historical people or people who are living with you. It could be your teachers or family members, relatives, friends, anyone. All of us need inspiration, role model. And then we need to pick up momentum. Once you start doing it, once you feel, you have a feel for it, you start moving. That is the way to go in your mission. It's not again just doing it, I want to do it. It is go through all these things. There only you have to be whether you should be a leader or the manager. The leader inspires people. The manager extracts work from others. You should be a good combination of will and skill. Skill is what you need. You want the management skill, you want writing skill, you want teaching skill, whatever it is, that you can pick up anywhere. But will you have to give to yourself. Nobody can give the will to you. You should decide, I should do this one. So here, this process takes 4 different stages: unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, unconscious competence. I give an example. You think of your two-wheeler, your bullet bike that you want. A small child, a baby, will not have any intention of riding that bullet. It is unconscious of the bullet, but it's not conscious of its competence or incompetence, but it is not attracted towards that. There are certain areas we know we are not competent, whether we are conscious or unconscious, we won't go for it. Okay, now the child grows up, 9 years, 10 years, it wants to ride the bicycle, but it is scared of this big bullet motorcycle, but it will be playing with a small, tiny toy bullet motorcycle. So it is conscious of its incompetence, but it doesn't want to take the actual, but it can have a miniature world. Then comes the child grows into adult, 16 year or 18 year, the boy or a girl gets the license to drive, then he or she drives the bike. Initially, they're very careful, follow all the route regulations, the traffic lights, whether others are coming before turning, you give the signal and all, you are conscious. But after some time, 1 year, 2 years, you become an expert. then you are unconsciously competent. That's the time where you are talking on the cell phone, leaning and driving the thing, and you are turning back and looking at others and driving the thing. Decision making also is that initially you are afraid of taking the decision or implementing it, then slowly you pick. Is practice makes perfect. That's why we need the role models. That's why we need more practice. From here, we pick up what is called the multitasking. The multitasking is your subconscious is a mine of knowledge and information. Whatever you see during the daytime and here, even if you are not aware of it, it gets into the subconscious. For example, if I ask you, can you bring out about 10 ghost stories? No time you will write it down. Where do you get it? Some of the stories your grandpa might have told you, your grandma might have told you, or you might have read in your standard 1 or 2, whatever it is. Where has the storage for this subconscious? The subconscious has more information than even a big computers. And you can at will bring it. You want to do something, it will come. All you have to do, you open up or activate the antenna of the subconscious. You want to write your term paper, or you want to write a research paper, or you want to do that, just tell the subconscious, become aware of it, allow the subconscious to work, it will go and do this. And search for the material. Subconscious is like a post office. If you think of the post office, what happens? The postman collects the letters, comes to the headquarters, and they put this letter goes to Kadalur, this letter goes to Thiruvananthapuram, this goes to Chennai. It's compartmentalizing it. The subconscious compartmentalizes it. Music goes in one area, sports goes to another area. That's why when I want to have something, you are able to do that and you can bring it. Once you have done this one, now you are able to meet the challenges in life. The challenges in life could be from yourself and from others, from the surroundings. From ourselves, what you have is the stress management. Very often we are stressed up. You get tensed up. Sometimes when people, if you are an official, high official, before people would come in, they will ask your PA, is the boss in good mood or not? So sometimes if you are under stress, people don't come to you. And you should be free from that. When you are under stress, your capacity to work goes down and your health also gets affected. What should you do for that? You should have a priority. You cannot do everything in the world. You should know what is it only you can do it. If you have 5 different things to do, what are the priorities? What is if you can do only 4 instead of 5, then decide on 4. Then you will be free from stress. What about the 5th one? You can delegate to somebody else. Somebody else can do that. There are certain things what you do, routine work, and you should have a routine timetable also. They say the biological clock is very important for everybody. Biological clock means the same time you get up, the same rhythm of work you do, the same time you go to bed. We have energy cycle. Some people feel very energetic early morning after breakfast. Some maybe after a siesta. Some maybe after a walk. Or some maybe late evening. Find out your energy cycle. When you are energetic, then take more difficult or hard or challenging work at that time. You need not start the hardest work early morning. If you feel sleepy in the morning, do some other work. If you feel very good after a game or after walk, do that one. But if you have a rhythmic clock, your efficiency is very much going up. If you have the habit, one day you go to sleep midnight, one day 2 o'clock in the morning, one day 6 o'clock, you are going to be stressed up, your concentration is going to be diluted, and you are not going to achieve much. You'll be wasting a lot of time doing things again and again. This is with yourself. When you work with others, naturally there will be a conflict. When you come together, very often we don't choose our companions to work, we are put together. And there should be a storm. Your way of looking at it will be different from my way of looking at it. So we have to come to a normal situation. It takes time. Only then you start working. So when there is a conflict, we should think and reflect whether it is objective conflict or a subjective conflict. Whether the conflict is I don't like the person or I don't like the proposition or I have a constructive conflict. So once you decide that, then your problem is very much reduced. And we ought to ask the question, it is not what you think right or what I think right, what is helpful for the common goal. It is not my personal interest. It is not my ego. It is what is the good. If you are working for a company, if you are working for an association, what is your proposal? My proposal would do more for the good of the things. Then that is the way smoothly you can work with others. Also, always it is good to look at the world of the others from their perspective. Very often we get into conflict because we try to understand somebody's proposition from my perspective, from my matrix. That doesn't tally. If I can look at the other's perspective, their world, I can understand. Take when a child says going for kindergarten exam, the child is tensed up. People say even 9-year-old gets tensed up and it's under stress. If it goes for exam and it's tensed up, we cannot laugh at it. After all, couple of rhythm, the rhymes you are going to write, why are you tensed up? For the child, that is the biggest work for that. Maybe when you grow up, you are able to handle more. So that is the best way to start the solving the conflict is look at others' world from their standpoint. And once you do, then you try to start with what is the common area of overlap. In any issue, there will be some common area. From there you start, then broaden up that ultimately you will be able to do. This is what we do most of the time when we do the conflict management. The disaster management is another thing. I'm not going to do much. That is meant more for the corporate. All that you should need is, do you have all the communications needed? Suppose you are working now with the time of Corona, some people working with you or in a family, they get sick. Do you have the nearby doctor's telephone number? Or if there is fire, you have the fire service number. Somebody meets with an accident, do you have the nearest hospital number? Do you have a networking? Can you get in touch with others? And then what is that? What is plan A? What is plan B? It is said, what could go wrong will one day go wrong. You might have been successfully doing something for 50 years. The 51st year, it may not go all right. So be prepared for that. Always have plan A, plan B. Otherwise, don't sit down broken-hearted and wonder what to do next. So now coming to the final thing is, how do you create the 25th hour? All I want to say is the time contract. Make a contract with time. On the right, what you see is a piece of paper. This is what I do. After supper or before I go to sleep, I divide my day into 3, morning till noon, noon till evening, evening till I go to bed, and then I enter it what I'm supposed to do, how much time I need. In between, I mark whether I should call somebody, whether I should call people. When people ask appointment, I ask what for, how long it will take. So I roughly calculate. If it is officials meeting, it may take 1 hour. If it is individual meeting, half an hour. If it is just in passing, maybe 5 minutes. all the things you can accommodate. And you don't fill it up. Normally, I fill up my day only 80%. Because in between, somebody comes, somebody wants to talk, some emergency comes, and some people take more time. Then at the second half of the thing is what happened, what I did not plan it. So I enter it. For example, somebody says, could you go through this and do it? For example, today I had a lot of meetings, 4 or 5 hours meeting. Somebody wants to go through something, I have marked it after supper. So you mark it there, otherwise you tend to forget. You cannot have everything in the memory. You put it down, and then when you do it, you can tick off. If you are not done it, carry over to the next day, but don't do it indefinitely. So this to-do list, what happens is, again, it is Ignatian. What Ignatius says, when you go to bed, he says, think when you are going to get up and think what you are going to pray about. So coming to this, once you prepare the list, before going to sleep, if you know what you are going to do, the subconscious starts working at it. Very often, what I have to speak in a meeting, what I should do, the subconscious works. When I get up in the morning, there is some clarity, some points, immediately I jot it down. My work is easier. Sometimes I spend half the time, otherwise I will be spending on that. The inner voice is the one, but what I said, the gut feeling, that is the guiding force. That is the compass that tells you when you say something, you like it or you don't like it, that is the first thing to do. I tell people, when you are not able to decide, listen to your inner voice. It will never guide you wrong. All the time, you can ask 2 questions. When you get up in the morning, what good shall I do this day? Because you have prepared your time contract, your subconscious have worked, and then it tells you these are the things you are going to do. You don't need a secretary to do that. I don't have a secretary here for me. And in the evening, you ask yourself, what good have I done today? What is the point here? I feel good. I have done so much. I can do more. I feel confident. That energizes me. That gives me more energy, more confidence I can do. So this is how you do things. And as you have seen, I have been going through this, not doing it, how you prepare yourself. For this, you need energy to do the things. We have a multifarious energy for us to do that. This energy is the sustaining force that we have. We need spiritual energy. The morning meditation, prayer, or yoga is recommended. I'm suggesting not because I'm a religious, it is today suggested for the corporate people. Once I met a person who was having about 24 ginning mills, running 3 shifts a day, but 8-hour work. The first hour, the employees come and sit in a tent, they relax. I asked him, don't you lose money? He said, no. They come with a lot of problems. This 1 hour when they sit, they reflect, relax, and when they go to work, in 7 hours, they do more than 8 hours work. If they come from home, maybe some problem, somebody's sick, some quarrel, and they come with that, they are going to work, they are not going to concentrate. So this is a corporate, they are using the word retreat, what the religious are doing. Weekends, they are taking them and give them course, and also spiritual energy is not just as a religious thing, it does a lot of good for you. Then the physical energy, you should take care of yourself. Eat right, moderate exercise, sufficient sleep is very important. You cut down your sleep, you are going to waste a lot of time on small things. Take care of yourself, then you will be fit to do the work. Emotional energy is the next one. Spend time with your friends and loving ones. Father Pedro Arrupe, our former general of the Jesuits, used to say, you should be able to waste time with God in prayer. He says, use the word waste time. You should be able to waste time with friends. Don't concentrate on the work. If you spend time, you get energized. What you will take otherwise 1 hour, you will be able to do in half an hour. Spend time for others. Have time for others. And Mental energy is one having a clear goal, clear plan, and a calendar regulated work. And then the business energy is one is, this is the central point in the book I am quoting at the bottom. The authors say, ask yourself very often the question, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Don't multiply your work. That's what I said, priority. When you have the priority, this is one thing. If I can do only one thing, the other things I can delegate to the others. So at the same time, this would give you enough energy to leave from your comfort zone in pursuit of something you believe in, something you dreamed of. You would have a lot of energy, lot of enthusiasm to do the work that you are able to do that. So these are the things that I have been thinking about the time management as energy management. I appreciate your presence and your attentive listening. Thank you very much. If you have any clarifications and questions, you are most welcome.
Father, good evening, and thank you. Thank you for the resourceful talk today. We have next 10 to 12 minutes. You could certainly post your questions on the chat box. One thing that the Father is assuring that all those who want the PowerPoint presentation, it will be sent to you. So do not worry. So now it's a question time. I would invite you to have your questions very short and crispy. And we would begin our question sessions beginning with Dr. Madhavan. Dr. Madhavan is asking, Father, does technology help us to save time or waste time? First question.
Could you repeat the question?
Does technology help us to save time or waste time?
It's a $1 million question. Very often you waste time. Something goes wrong in the technology. For example, today it's very easy. So many of you are watching. Something goes wrong. If my Wi-Fi goes wrong, end of it. So generally we are saving time, but be prepared when you would be ready to waste time. So by and large, technology helps us, but ultimately it is not the technology that decides, it is you who decides. Technology is only your servant or a slave. Never make it your master.
Okay. Thank you, Father. We have a number of people who are really appreciated as, illuminating presentation, very impressive, very informative. And of course, from Dr. Xavier Mahime Raj is talking about creating the 25th hour is awesome. Of course, we could gift him the book, the recent one, to Dr. Xavier Mahime Raj.
Thank you.
We have one more question, which is from Mr. Regis. Sometimes you take decision, but the body doesn't cooperate to allow and execute the decision. How do we actually train the mind, body, subconscious? That's what his question is all about. Father, did you get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, Father.
See, decision is from the mind, the mental one. The action, execution is physical one. So you have to find a synchronization or transition. If the body doesn't cooperate, there could be more than one reason. First of all, you may be, physically you may be weak, or you are discouraged, or you don't have confidence in doing that. Any number of things you would have. So what you should do is sit and think what is happening to you. Very often what happens is you are scared of executing it, whether I will be able to achieve, whether there will be cooperation, all these things before you do the decision making, you do that one. And if you are physically weak, the best thing is take rest. Normally I tell people when the going gets tough, the tough goes to sleep. Just lie down and sleep, take a break, and you will be able to do that. If more than that, if you are not there, maybe you are not confident enough, Perhaps you can share it with somebody who would be able to accompany you, who would be able to encourage you, even able to say a easier way or more effective way of. So that is how I would see the point.
Thank you, Father. And we have one simple and very important question from Miss Priya. She's asking, Father, is it okay to take time off from sleeping or for work?
In general, I would not recommend taking time off, but you have to define what time off, whether 6 hours or 10 hours. That makes a lot of difference. Regular time. People say, the Benedictine monks, they started the regular work. Why the religious are called regular? Because they will work 8 hours, they will pray 8 hours, they will sleep 8 hours. The regularly they do. That's why the religious are called regulars. But whether one should sleep 8 hours or one should sleep 6 hours, it depends on the person. When you get up, if you feel fresh, you are fine. If you feel tired, then you have to check your duration of sleep. Occasionally, of course, you may have to burn the midnight oil. That is very rarely, but you can try to avoid that. If you plan out well, if you do it earlier, force your work, you need not cut down your sleep. Yes, sometimes in emergency situation, you may have to do it. There should be only exception, not the rule of the game.
Thank you, Father. Audio is... Father, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Next question is very simple again. How to be at peace when your surrounding is noisy, disturbing, troublesome, tensed?
Okay, I can give you 2 examples what comes to my mind. Actually, I think it is in the book of Osho. He has written a book. He says that one day he was traveling. He stayed in a traveler's bungalow, and adjacent to his room, a state minister also stayed. And nearby or outside the compound, a dog was ferociously barking all the time. And the next day morning, the minister was saying, I could not sleep because of the dog was barking. And Osho seemed to have told him, I had a peaceful sleep. And he said, how can you do that? The dog was so loud. He said, you concentrated on the dog's barking. I concentrated on my sleep. What you concentrate, you will achieve that. So you should have, depends on your peace of mind, depends on what you are concentrating. You might have seen the Kung Fu Panda, that is, I don't remember the second one and third one. The panda goes for fighting with others and it makes some silly mistakes and gets beaten up, comes to the master and says, no, things are not going well. The master will say, inner peace. Whatever happens to your life, don't lose your inner peace. Human has succeeded all the time. Nobody has succeeded all the time. But what is important is inner peace. And Dr. Abdul Kalam will say in his book, The Wings of Fire, we learn more from mistakes than from success. His own first racket was a total failure, and his boss said, find out why it went wrong. They studied, then he became the father of racket, and India is number 1 in the world. So, there's no point in losing your peace of mind unless you allow the peace of mind to make you go out of the way.
Thank you, Father. Father, I just want to kind of brief you saying that, in Google Talk, we have 75 people. In live streaming in the YouTube, we have 362 people actually on live. And I'm taking one question from the YouTube channel. Professor Esther is asking how to have work-life balance in this quarantine period. Work-life balance during this quarantine period.
Okay. It is very difficult because this is not, we don't have experience of this one. The first time it happens, we were taken by surprise and we have to play by the ear. First thing is, first of all, as many people are saying, the Buddha's concept of this also shall pass. So have that peace of mind, whatever happens, one day it has to pass, and I am going to get out of this. The second one, there are certain things which you have to do, both on the family side and on the on your work side. If you're a teacher, for example, now many of our faculty members have been preparing online and they have been engaging students. Well, you have to do that. At home, the children are there and you have to do other house chores to do that. What is important, you have to do that. If we have to go, we have to play by the ear. There is no rule. You 8 to 10, you do household work, 10 to 12. There are certain things. Morning you have to prepare breakfast, lunch you prepare, dinner. In between, can you do something for your work, depending on the understanding of the management. So there is no hard and fast rule. It is tough time. We have to learn by practice.
Okay. Father, thank you. Thank you for the response. Very beautiful. One dilemma Tony Prabhu has is, on the one side you have a regular timetable, on the other side to train your mind, on the other side people say you should get enough time to sleep, as well as only when you get time to sleep. The dilemma between a regular, I'm getting distracted by questions falling in. Father, do you hear me? There is a dilemma between following your timetable in sleeping hours, but at the same time, people say, you need to sleep when you get sleep, something like that. How do you actually respond to this?
So when you feel like sleeping, you could go to sleep. It depends on the situation. Suppose you have been traveling a lot, or you have been exercising a lot, or something happened that upsets you, you are not in a mood, you feel sleepy. That is a different thing. That is not, I won't call it a regular thing. If you are going by your mood, I remember that when I was visiting the Jesuit institution in Stockholm in Sweden, I asked the rector, I hear that in Sweden a lot of people go, they have depression. What is the reason? He said, after dinner, we are going for a walk on a river bank. He said, what is the time now? Don't look at the watch. Tell me what's the time. I looked at the sun. He said, looks like 5 o'clock. He said, now it is 10:30 night. And today, when you go back to your room, there are 3 sets of curtains. Don't forget to make all the 3 curtains. Today, the sunset is at 12:30, sunrise is 1:30. So he says, if anyone is going by getting dark, I go to sleep, and you are going to have health problem. This is the reason we have depression. So if you are going by your feeling level, it is going to be a problem, except when you are tired or when you are sick, that is different. But on a regular basis, you should be a combination of rational and emotional. I would say having a regular timetable should be the rule. At the same time, be flexible. When I said I fill up my day 80%, the 20% is to be for the filling up. That is so flexible. Of course, sometimes emergency happens and I have to call off my appointment. I have to go. That is a different one. That is exceptions. So I don't see any contradiction between having a regular timetable and flexible. The regular timetable is a kind of direction that gives you where you are able to accommodate unexpected things that comes in.
Thank you, Father. I'd like to combine 2 questions of 2 different persons. One is Miss Jivida is asking, how do you stay motivated? And Mr. Maria Anthony Raj is asking, suggest a good manager or good leader.
Okay. The motivation depends on what you want to achieve in life. What is the goal you want to get? Once your goal is clear, your motivation will come. You might have read some years ago, someone climbed the Mount Everest, and that person did not have both the legs, artificial legs. And recently, someone climbed Mount Everest, a visually challenged person. Their goal was very clear, and the goal gave the motivation. And the motivation gives you energy, enormous energy, undergo any training. You might have read about the person who won 4 gold medals in the Olympic with his artificial leg. It is possible. The goal and the motivation should synchronize. And how to be a leader? Simple rule is you tell others what you practice. In the Matthew Gospel, we say it's a golden rule. Jesus tells all of us, do unto others what you expect others to do to you. You want others to respect you, you respect others. You want others to tell you good morning, you say good morning to you. That is the best leader. A leader is one who doesn't direct people, who walks with the people, who understands the people. If someone is not doing well, he says, okay, don't worry, this is not the end of the world. I am there with you. We go together. That is the one you have to be. The leader is one who understands, accompanies, and together accomplishes with his employees or co-workers.
Okay, thank you, Father. I'm again combining two people's question into one. A question from Henry Peter is, what should be the priority? Being human or doing human? What should be the priority? That is the one question. The second question from is Professor Caroline Maria saying, edifying session, how do you actually increase the output, 80-20 rule? Is there any possibility to reach 100, output 100?
Okay. What is important to be human doing, I would say being human is very important. You know, the people tell me that in Tamil they say, na sovara vachudan sitram varayanum. Sometimes tell people paper vachu kuda sitram varayalam. That is not the argument. Only when you are human, you are going to understand others. If you are strictly following the doing, robot could do that. You know, you see during the coronavirus, robots are there taking the tablets to the rooms and give it their doing. You can find anyone, anything. Or, you know, in Madras, at least there is one robo restaurant. The robo brings the food and gives you. Robo could be doing that. And in some countries, they have trained monkeys. If you want tablets, the monkey knows which tablet to give. And in Japan, I think the monkeys are trained in the bars. If you order for drinks, the monkey comes and gives you. This doing anybody can do. Being human is very important. That is our nature. The doing is, I would say, extension of our nature. The second one is, how do we increase the output? One thing by practice, second by wishing to do more. That's what again I would fall back to Ignatius, be a person of margins, ever better. He says always the greater glory of God. He doesn't say greatest glory of God. Once you say greatest glory, you cannot do much. Greater is always something to do that. Practice makes perfect, and we can do, provided you are energetic, you are motivated, and you are able to plan out well your daily, weekly, monthly actions.
Thank you, Father. We have come to the end of the session. I would take the last question because we close at 7:15. And so the last question from Mr. Ambrose Muthu, how to handle the physical presence with cognitive absence? Father, did you get me? How to handle the physical presence with cognitive absence?
Could you say what is cognitive absence?
or epistemic?
I would say nothing like being present physically. I remember the story, in the West, the children always sleep in their room, the parents sleep in the master bedroom. Once a little child was sleeping, there was rain and thundering and lightning, and the little girl ran to the mother and said, "Mummy, I am scared. I am afraid." Then Mummy said, "I am, after all, the next door. Just to go and sleep. I am there." The girl said, "Not like that. Nothing like touching you. Nothing like you hugging me or holding me. It's not there. I know you are here. I know you are in the next room, but nothing like physical." Being with someone physical is therapeutic. The cognitive absence, if I understand, can always, you can manage, or you can replace, or you can manipulate. For me, that cognitive absence may not be. If I don't know, I don't know. But my being with you, especially when I need your presence. Especially when some people are in distress or shock, or someone dies in the family, the physical presence is very important. It is not to say, "Oh, I am with you." When you are not able to go, there is a different matter. But when you are there, physical presence gives the assurance that someone is there. That's why we say one cannot hug oneself, and one needs somebody's shoulder to cry. We need people.
Father, thank you. I have one bonus question from Father Venish. Very simple. Father, the more I try to do away with my preoccupations while I sleep, all the more I tend to get them. How do you deal with it?
This is a good question, because many people seem to have this question. That's why people say, "How do you prepare yourself to go to bed?" You might have read that people discourage you are switching off your cell phone, your TV, and all those things at least an hour before you go to sleep. Because there seems to be a violet light or some ultraviolet light is coming there that activates your mind, and that keeps your mind occupied all the time, and that becomes your preoccupation. And as I said, if you have this time contract, if you put down in the piece of paper what you are going to do tomorrow, then I will say, forget it. It is there in the paper. I will do that one. And before you go to sleep, either you can take a walk, or read some novels, or listen to some music, and then with that you go to sleep. See that your mind calms down, and don't occupy your mind, activate your mind. That is the reason why you get preoccupied. Calm down, sober down, go to sleep, and then you will sleep well.
Father, we have come to the end of the session. I would like to thank you. Even though there are a few more questions in the live YouTube channel, but we would close the session now. And I would like to thank everyone who is present, actively present today. And thank you so much for your presence. And thank you, Father.
Thank you very much for your time and for your interactions. I especially thank Father Justin Prabhu and Scholastic Thomas for the technical assistance and the encouragement I always enjoy from my Jesuit brethren in the Loyola College Jesuit community. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Okay, thank you. Good night. The session is ended here.
Thanks a lot, Justin.
Get out.